this change your maybe Super Bowl or playoff expectations, the expectations that you had for the 49ers? Because when we're talking about they're not always going to face this style of defense, we're talking about Purdy maybe having a bad game, one of because of pressure, maybe because of weather, more of his physical limitations maybe coming out because of the weather or the pressure, and not being able to rely so much on his weapons that, because of injury or whatever. Is this that reality check that maybe people thought the Niners were going to go get when they were in Dallas? Does this change how you feel? Because there's going to be rain at some point. There's going to be there's going to be bad weather. There's going to be much tougher defenses. The farther along you go in the playoffs, it's going to be harder, and we'll get into it later. But the kicker issue will definitely become, at least mentally, more way more pressure. But specifically talking about maybe Kyle and Purdy, does this change your Super Bowl expectations for them yet?
No, no, I don't think it does. I mean, like, I think if you were to tell me before the season started that after week 6 the 49ers are 5-1, like, I'd be ecstatic, right? Like, I'd feel really
Sure.
good about their chances. And so I don't think just this one loss is gonna change that for me. And honestly, like, watching the game over, it was a bad game, but it was still really close. Like, I don't think it didn't feel close watching it live because I think we saw how bad the offense had been playing, and like it didn't
Yeah.
seem like they could get out of the hole they were in. But the game was so close, despite them looking as bad as they did on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And so like I watched and I actually didn't feel too bad afterwards. I think they'll clean up some of those issues. Every team's going to have a bad game here and there that looks similar to the one the 49ers just had. And I'm not too worried about it. The Eagles also lost, so that helps. The Lions are also 5-1, so that helps. All those are good teams right
Seahawks,
now.
you mentioned. Seahawks
Seahawks
lost.
lost as well. They're now 3-2. So they'll stay below the 49ers for now, and hopefully for the rest of the season. But yeah, so there's no reason for me to change my expectations on this team based on one game. If anything, like, I'm glad that they had this wake up call fairly early in the season, and they can refocus and get back to work.
I like that perspective, because I think I also didn't expect them to go undefeated. And I think as fans, maybe you hope that there's like one loss before the playoffs. I don't know. I'm like a juju person, and I'm like, you just want to roughen them up. But in my head, I didn't see it coming yet. So I think it was just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
frustration of that, and the frustration of the defense is really good, but the Browns offense was so terrible. So I think it's a mix of just expectations kind of being like, oh, I really didn't expect them to look this poorly against this team. And then maybe the fear of like, okay, is this how they're going to perform against higher caliber defenses and teams? Because what happens if they face a team that has a really good like the Eagles has a really good defense and their offense is rolling? Is this game now not as close? Like, did it stay close because the Browns offense isn't as efficient as other teams will go? But maybe, like you're saying, this will be a wake up call now. So
hmm
instead, like in my brain, I thought, okay, the Eagles game might be a wake up call, like something like that. Maybe now, and Fred Warner talked about this after the game, that like, and I think even Nick Bosa said they deserve to win. Like, we were
yeah.
outplayed,
hmm
and maybe this will like prepare them to go into those games with higher expectations of themselves, and like more maybe a more solid game plan, a more solid execution. And that would be better if that does happen, because you'd rather lose to an AFC team than to the Eagles. So
Yeah.
I hope you're right there. I think that's good perspective.